Would you like me to give you a formula for success? It's quite simple, really. Double your rate of failure. You are thinking of failure as the enemy of success, but it isn't at all. You can be discouraged by failure, or you can learn from it. So go ahead and make mistakes. Make all you can, because remember, that's where you will find success. Thomas J. Watson. Today, I'm talking about why there's beauty in failure. Let's get started. Hi there, I'm Achie, speaker, coach, and entrepreneur. I'm also a wife and mom to the Seans, my brilliant hubby, Sean Sr., and my vivacious toddler, Sean Jr. I am a perpetual student to this thing called life, and boy, has life taught me some lessons. What I absolutely love is helping you to identify and debunk the limiting beliefs that cause you to hide from your awesomeness. It's time to reprogram your thinking. So settle in, get comfy, and let's girl talk. Just you and me. This is the I Am Achie podcast. When I come up with topics for this podcast, I do in several ways. Sometimes I am literally in the middle of doing something and a topic will just pop up in my mind. It would just come up in my spirit, my heart, like, okay, you need to talk about this, and this is how it needs to be framed. And in other times, my topics come from real life scenarios of my own life, and real life scenarios of my dealings and conversations with other people. Today's episode is from my real life conversations that I have had very recently with other people. And there was a common thread. Whenever I have it doesn't have to be multiple conversations, but whenever I do have multiple conversations, it's like a no-brainer to me. It's like, okay, I'm having the same conversation with different people, and these people don't even know each other. Like, this needs to be talked about. And I had several conversations with very different people, and the conversation was around failure and their unwillingness to fail and what kind of results it yields in their life. Now, I remember it was several weeks ago, someone reached out to me, and it was a coaching client, but they reached out and they said, look, I have this speech coming up, and, well, it was an interview. I'll say interview. It was an interview. And they just were not comfortable, at all with doing the interview. So instead of me talking to them and, giving them tips on how to speak and how to compose, different answers and presentation, all that, I first started out with, okay, why don't you want to do this interview? This interview is a big deal for your business. It's going to be put online, but not only that, it's from a major production, or I believe maybe it was done by a blogger, a popular blogger, and then it ended up going to a major production, because I think I ended up seeing it on, was it CNBC? I don't know. Don't quote me. Anyways, it ended up being a big deal. All right. That's the point. So anyways, we're talking and we're like, okay, why don't you want to do this interview? What is it about this interview that's making you say, no, I don't want to do it? And it actually had to be this person, not the business partner, because of the different roles they play. The interviewer wanted to talk to this particular person because of the role they play. The business partner is very comfortable in front of the camera, talking, interviewing, but they didn't want to speak to them. So this person had to overcome this fear. So as we were talking and really digging deep, it came out that they were afraid of failing. Their whole life, they had been muted. They weren't empowered as a young child. They were always shut down. Sometimes you grow up and your parents tell you and your family members tell you that children and kids are to be seen and not heard. And the unfortunate part about that is sometimes if you're not cultivated, you will take that same mindset into adulthood. And you have muted yourself, your adult life. You've been muted in your childhood, but then you mute yourself, your adult life, because that's what you're used to doing, and that's how you're used to acting and showing up. So that was this particular person's story. And they were just horrified of failing. And when I asked deeper, I found out that not only did they go with the children are to be seen and not heard, but also when they were younger, their dad specifically never wanted to hear this person speak. So they were always quiet around their dad, because the minute they would say something, whatever it was, their dad would basically just go off and just kind of chastise them on why they weren't saying the right thing, why it was stupid, why they shouldn't be talking, period. And then this person ended up in a relationship with someone who treats them the same way. So they really don't know their voice. So to say you need to get in front of someone and be interviewed for an hour, I left that part out, for an entire hour, and you don't know your voice, you've been muted your whole life, you're terrified. And so we had to do some work around undoing the limiting belief of I don't want to fail. Because in their mind, if they failed, it meant that they were in trouble. It meant that they were dumb. It meant that they were stupid. They didn't know what they were talking about, and they shouldn't be in front of the camera. That's what that meant. So we had to do work to say, no, let's remove that stigma. Let's remove the thought and the belief around what failure means, right? I did an entire episode on how to debunk limiting beliefs. If you want to listen to that, you can go back and search it. And I talk about the different steps that I take my clients and myself through whenever I'm trying to debunk a limiting belief. So I took this person through that very quickly, because the interview was like literally later that evening. So we had a couple of hours. And the call that I had with this person was only probably, 45 minutes. So we had to really speed up the process. But basically understanding that failure is something that you have to experience in life on some level, right? And how you are actually cutting yourself short or cheating yourself when you are constantly running from failure. You get to the point where you don't even look at the success, you're staring so hard at the failure. So that the success becomes obsolete, you're focused on the failure, right? Then I was talking to someone else who was in a really unhealthy relationship, but was unwilling to give up this relationship because of a fear of failure. It was, without giving away too many details, it was really, really clear in multiple areas that this person needed to walk away. It was really bad, okay? I'm just going to say that it was really bad, and she just really needed to walk away. But I spoke to her about this, and I said, okay, you have already failed yourself for many years because, number one, you've put yourself last, and number two, you have spent your years running away from wanting to fail when you already were swimming in the pool of failure and didn't even realize it. And I explained to her that life is all about perspective. And we have this view that failure only involves others, because most of the time you don't want to fail because you don't want them, in air quotes, to see you fail, or you don't want to hurt their, in air quotes, you don't want to hurt their feelings. But when it comes to us, we'll fail ourselves over and over and over again with no hesitation. We will disappoint ourselves. We will lie to ourselves. We will cheat ourselves. We will deceive ourselves. And we'll put everyone before us. We'll even defend our decision to neglect ourselves. We'll defend why everybody else deserves to come first. And I did another podcast episode on take care of you. And if you haven't listened to that, make sure you go back and check that out, because I dive deep into it. But what if we took the same regard and the care that we have for others' feelings and opinions, and we direct it towards our own well-being? What if the reason that you can't move forward is because you haven't gotten a particular lesson in life? And what if you haven't gotten that lesson because you're unwilling to fail? What if every success you desire in every area of your life is tied to your willingness to fail, your willingness to make mistakes, to not do it perfectly, to you saying to yourself, man, I really messed that up, and even giving someone else the freedom to say, man, that was really messed up. What if our success is tied to that? To take that criticism, take that L, take that failure, and to build on it, step on top of it, and move on to experience our success? What if? And I keep saying what if because, again, life is about perspective. It's about how you view things. And I've talked about this before, and I keep saying I've talked about this. I've talked about this in different episodes because new people listen to my podcast all the time. So I want to reference you to other episodes if you want to dig deeper into this concept. But if you have on a pair of green shades, and this is just a part of your everyday wardrobe, like you wake up in them, you sleep in them, you shower in them, and we are outside, and I have on a white pair of socks, and you look at me and say, Achie, why do you have those green socks on? They don't match with your outfit. And I say, I have on white socks. And you argue me down that these socks are green. I mean, you are putting money on and everything. Like we are in a full-on argument because I'm telling you the socks are white. And you're like, no, the socks are green. But the reason why you don't know the socks are white is because you're walking around with a green lens. So everything is a shade of green for you. And you don't know that once you actually take those green shades off, that things become clear. So sometimes this is what's happening in our life. And for some of you who are listening, you have on those green shades. So that's why I have to say, what if? What if every success you desire in every area is tied to your willingness to fail? Whereas in your mind, with your green shades on, the way that you've seen it is, I can't fail. I'm afraid to fail. If I fail, it means that's the whole thing. The whole thing with limiting beliefs is that you've attached some sort of meaning to it, right? So there's a meaning that you've attached to failure. The meaning is you're not good. The meaning is you're bad. The meaning is you don't know what you think you should know, that you're dumb or stupid, that you're not far along as you wish you were, that you're behind, that others will judge you and criticize you. And I'm here to say, so what? What if all that is false? Or what if all of that is true? What if it's true? What if you have to build up the muscle and the strength to accept some criticism, warranted or unwarranted, not care about it, and continue to move on and get your lesson? What if you're required to build some backbone first instead of running from the failure? What if? Consider. And the what if is when you take off those glasses and you say, wow. Now, I'm not saying that you'll fail at everything, but what I am saying is that when you step out and take a chance, you're saying, I am giving myself permission to have this experience no matter the outcome. That takes a level of boldness. That takes a level of audacity to say that even if I don't succeed here, I'm going to give myself the grace and the permission to have this experience. And sometimes the outcome is a great lesson that needs to be learned. And that lesson needs to be learned in order to go to the next level in your life. You may not experience success in whatever area you're looking in or you're looking for the first time. Matter of fact, sometimes it's better that you don't. But if you're not willing to fail, you are guaranteed to stay average. Guaranteed. Because if you're not willing to fail, you're not taking chances. And life is passing you by. You're living a very limited life. It's passing you by. And I believe one of the only differences between successful and unsuccessful people is the willingness to fail over and over and over again. And the more you do it, you stop looking at it as ways to fail. You're looking at it as opportunities to grow, opportunities to learn, to experience new things, to gain knowledge, to gain confidence. It's no longer a failure thing for you. It's I'm figuring this thing out. I am pushing my life forward. I am gaining the tools I need to become the highest and best version of myself. And most of the time, that includes some level of failure. So are you willing to take those chances? Are you willing to ignore what someone else says if you fail? Because if you are breathing, if you are a human, if you are listening to this, even if you're not listening to this, everyone has experienced failure. That's a part of the human experience. So who told you to remove that? Who told you that when you fail or when you don't do the absolute best that you want and that you expect to do, that you shouldn't go at it again? That you should be harshly judged and retreat? If you continue to retreat, then what? What's next? Do you live your life that way? Do you live your life in a mouse house for the rest of your days? Because you're afraid of, quote unquote, them and they. And let me tell you something. The them and they that you are thinking about, that you think will judge you, I have a secret for you. They really don't care. They don't care. It's something you've created in your mind. You've created that, quote unquote, they care. You created in your mind that they will judge you. They don't care. And let me tell you, if they actually do care and they're judging you, their opinions don't actually matter. They don't. So if you are listening and any of this is resonating with you, and you can think of times where, okay, like the person I was talking about at the beginning when I was helping them out with their interview, and they traced it back to when they were a child, like remove that meaning. Remove the you're going to get yelled at. Remove the you're going to be in trouble. Like remove all of that. And I have my own philosophy on trouble anyways, so. Eleanor Roosevelt says a well-behaved woman will never change history. So that whole I have to behave and I have to stay within the protocols and the rules and the boxes of what was created for me, just, throw that out the window. We don't do that here. That's not done here. So I hope this episode was helpful for you guys. And I'm going to leave you with a quote in the words of J.K. Rowling. It is impossible to live without failing at something unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you fail by default. I love you, I see you, and I want you to win. Bye for now. I know firsthand how challenging this personal development journey can be. It can feel lonely, confusing, overwhelming, and even difficult to know exactly where to start. That is why I created an amazing resource for you. Go to imachie.com to download a free audio training that discusses the top 2 things you should focus on as you begin or continue your journey to shifting your mindset. Yep, only 2 things. I like to keep it simple and actionable. Again, that's imachie.com. And also, if you enjoyed today's episode, I have a favor to ask of you. My goal is to get this podcast in front of as many women as possible. The things I discuss are the things I wish someone would have told me when I began this journey. So in order to do that, please take a few seconds to share this episode with a friend and leave a 5-star review. Don't forget to subscribe so you can get notified when I release new episodes. I love you, I see you, and I'm rooting for you. Bye for now.